BBC London 94.9.
HS2. If I say HS2, do you know what I'm talking about? Does the thought strike terror into your heart, or do you think, I can't wait for the HS2 to be finished, it will make a tremendous difference to my life, to my travelling prospects and everything else? It's a £50 billion project, the HS2 project, and the House of Lords Economic Affairs Committee yesterday said it should be abandoned in its current form. They say the evidence used to justify the 250-mile-an-hour line is out of date and unconvincing. They say ministers should seriously consider big changes to the project to keep costs down, such as reducing the speed of trains by a fifth, replacing the planned line with a conventional railway, or ditching a proposed terminus at Euston Station in London. The study also suggested building the TransPennine HS3 line before HS2 to benefit the economy in the north. The House of Lords questioned whether extra capacity on long-distance routes from London was needed at all, with more than half of trains on the West Coast main line operating at under capacity at the moment. The conclusions are being regarded as a demolition of the case for HS2, which ministers claim is required to rebalance the economy. It is hoped that work on the line from London to Birmingham, Manchester and Leeds will start in 2017, with the first trains due to run in 2026. The committee said that the legislation needed to kickstart the project should not happen unless the government fully justifies its case. The cost-benefit analysis for HS2 relies on evidence that it's out of date and unconvincing, the report says. The analysis presented to justify the project is seriously deficient. The government repeatedly insisted that costs for HS2 will not exceed the £50.1 billion budget set in 2011. The study warned, though, that funding is more likely to stand at £56.6 billion at 2014 prices. One estimate has placed the total cost at closer to £80 billion. The report said if a new railway is required, the costs should be reduced, for example, by constructing it to run at a slower speed, say at the same speed as the French TGV. The express line in France runs at 200 miles an hour, lower than the 250 miles an hour plan for HS2, with slower trains shaving as much as 9% off costs. Further savings could be made by abandoning the proposed terminus at Euston, with all trains terminating at Old Oak Common in West London. The planned interchange with a new Crossrail line across the capital. Department of Transport said that the case for HS2, however, was crystal clear, and that it would provide £2 of benefits for every £1 spent. So it's a straight kind of totally elementary, yes, you like it, no, you don't kind of an argument, isn't it? Let us ask Christian Wolmar, transport commentator, who also plans to run for London Mayor for Labour in 2018. Hi, Christian, good morning.
Hi there.
Well, this is a thorough demolition job done on HS2 by the House of Lords, isn't it?
Yes, indeed. And what's interesting is that it picks up virtually all the points I've been making over the past 3 or 4 years, ever since this scheme actually first emerged. It backs up all the arguments against it. It's expensive. It's the wrong sort of scheme. It's running at 400 kilometres per hour when across the world most high-speed lines only run at 300 kilometres per hour, and that makes it more expensive. There's lots of alternative ways of boosting capacity out of Euston that would be a lot cheaper. And all in all, it's a very badly thought-out idea, and I think it's great that the House of Lords, which took evidence, by the way, from a very wide range of people, including the supporters of HS2, it's great that the House of Lords has come out with such a strong report.
Can you tell us whence the idea emanated? Who suggested HS2? Who said it would be a good idea? And how did they justify it when first they came up with it?
Well, it's slightly in the midst of time and a bit confusing, but actually the Lib Dems were probably the first to really promote the idea, and then the Tories announced it at one of their party conferences, I think in 2008, that they would support it, but they were, of course, out of government then. And then when Andrew Adonis, Lord Adonis as he was then, and now is picked up the idea when he was Transport Secretary. And here is one of the problems. It was picked up really as a sop to environmentalists when Labour supported the third runway at Heathrow, which now is a question mark. But so it was then presented, well, if we're doing something for the aviation industry like this, we must also do something for the railways. Let's have this high-speed thingy.
You call it a high-speed thingy. It's a 250 mile an hour train network, isn't it? To essentially go north more quickly. and for northerners to go south more quickly. I suppose one of the questions that the House of Lords has been asking is, are there enough people who want to go north, and do they want to go so quickly? And are the people from the north coming south, do they want to go as quickly? In other words, will there be any business for the HS2, or are the trains that exist now sufficient?
Well, as you asked in your previous question, what was the justification? Well, the justification initially was this is a high-speed line. We'll be able to get to Birmingham in 49 minutes and into Manchester in just over an hour and 10 minutes, something like that. This is going to transform travel across Britain. And then they realised that actually people weren't so bothered. You could get to Manchester at the moment in 2 hours, 9 minutes, to Leeds in 2 hours. That's a pretty good journey. Britain isn't that big a country. So then they focused their attention on, this is great for the north. We absolutely need it to unite the country. But, it's the wrong sort of line for that. A lot of the stations in the north, places like in the East Midlands and in Sheffield and in Crewe, their stations are outside the town centres.
Yes.
So actually, if you're coming from London to go to somewhere like Sheffield or Nottingham, you'd much rather take the old train that goes into the centre of the city and not a parkway station in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, I see. So why is it so crystal clear to you that HS2 is a terrible idea when TfL, well, the Department for Transport, are saying the HS2 case is crystal clear, and it's crystal clear in favour of it?
Well, that's something of a mystery. For some reason, it has all party support, all the main parties. Actually, the Greens and UKIP are against it, but the Lib Dems, the Tories and Labour are all in favour of it. And maybe it's just that the idea sounds attractive, and superficially it does. We do need some extra capacity on the railways. It would be nice to have a shiny new high-speed line like they have on the continent. It's a grand projet, and politicians love the idea of grand projets, even when they've got no chance of actually cutting the ribbon on this, because as you said, the earliest date is 2026, and there's certainly be different governments by then. But nevertheless, they think this is a legacy that they are going to create a game changer for the country. Now, I'm not against the idea of a high-speed line. It's just that this is the wrong project at the wrong price, in the wrong direction to the wrong stations.
What about the economic side of it, where it's been argued that it will be just the right fillip to the economy? It'll be a project which will engage and employ many people. It'll be a project that, does a great deal to restore economic equilibrium. I mean, is that a load of old bunkum as well?
Well, I mean, oddly enough, because of the way that the stations in the north are set outside towns, I don't think it's going to really help the north very much at all. And as the House of Lords has found, that in the continent where you've had a big town, major town like Paris or Frankfurt, are linked with smaller towns, like this, London with Birmingham, Manchester. It is the big towns that tend to benefit the most from the project. So quite apart from re-establishing the equilibrium between the north and London, it might do precisely the opposite. Now, as a potential mayoral candidate, I ought to be saying, well, this is great because, London needs everything it can get. But actually, in terms of thinking of the nation as a whole, we actually need the north to be improved. And the House of Lords Committee finds, as I've argued in the past, that improving the links between Manchester and Liverpool and Leeds and Hull would do much more for the economy, HS3 in other words, rather than HS2.